Hi everybody, this is Matthew from Disaster Area with you again. We're going to be looking today at the Strymon Mobius and the Disaster Area DPC5. We've had some questions regarding pre and post routing on the Mobius. As many of you know, the Mobius has two separate signal paths. These can be combined in a stereo in-out configuration, or they can be set up as what Strymon calls a pre-post configuration. What that means is that in pre-post configuration, they send the input from one set of inputs, input jacks, input 1, input 2, through the DSP, do all their amazing magic on it, and send it out through that same output affected. The other set of outputs just acts like a true bypass loop. So when you switch from pre to post, the loop that's currently being used will actually toggle over, so you can have the Strymon Mobius in front of your amp and in its loop at the same time per preset. So on certain things that benefit from being post distortion, this here is many things that need a lot of harmonic content to work, like phasers, flangers, filters, things like that. It definitely benefits from having more distortion run into it, so in the loop is generally better. If you're the kind of guy that uses pedals for a drive rather than your amp, it's not always best to have it run like that, but there's a lot of cases where you can get subtly different effects just by changing the routing order. So what we've got is our DPC5. We have the Mobius connected to it in two ways. The first way is using the DPC5 insert. You could use the main input for this as well. We recommend using the insert because on the DPC5, running in through the main input gets you the benefit of the DPC buffer. We come out of the insert with a buffered signal into the Mobius, which means cable length is not a factor. You can put it anywhere on your board. We run back in through the insert input, and then we run from the main out to the other input on the Mobius, and from the other output on the Mobius to the amp. It doesn't really matter which order you plug these in. You can have the insert on inputs 1 or the main input. It really doesn't matter. The only thing that'll change is whether pre and post reflects the Mobius being pre or post distortion. It's just a nomenclature thing. So in the loop we've got a couple of Moore pedals, 3 Moore pedals, a Green Mile, Hustle Drive, and a Triangle Buff. These are roughly clones of a TS9, an OCD, and a Big Muff Pi. There are varying ranges of distortion and volume. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the Mobius set for pre and post with some distortions in the loop and without. So we'll go to manual mode and we'll turn on the Green Mile. The Hustle Drive is a little more gainy. And then the Triangle Buff is pretty distorted. So we've got 3 different levels of distortion here in our loop. We're going to listen to the Mobius. We're going to start with a pretty simple phaser patch. It's a pretty good way to get a feeling for what we're doing here. So go to phaser. Alright, we'll enter the parameter menu and we'll change this to pre-post. Pre-post. There's no real difference in sound with pre-post if the signal is clean. If we add a little bit of grit to the sound, you can hear a little bit of difference. It's not very big, but there is a difference. So in our particular application, we're running the Mobius after the distortions when the label says pre. This is just due to the way we've wired it. But you can hear, especially with the triangle buff, the big muff clone, that when we're in pre, that is when we're running the Mobius after the distortion, the extra harmonic content from the distortion really makes a difference in the way the phaser sounds. And this is true on a lot of different presets on the Mobius. Some of the presets like the vintage Trem, the pattern Trem, the Autoswell, there's not a huge difference. The Autoswell is definitely going to track better if it's before your distortions, just because it'll have a better signal to trigger from, less compression. But a lot of the others definitely do better after. So on your rotary, phaser, vibe, flanger, filter, and formant, it's definitely better to run this guy after the distortions. In our case, it would say pre. So what we can do is actually assign per preset on the Mobius pre and post, so we can change its routing order, and then we can also call up any of the pedals that are connected to the DPC5 per preset. So stepping on one button will let us have a patch that's pre-distortion and one that's after. It's very simple to set that up. So please post questions in the comments or email us through our website, www.disasterareaamps.com. Thanks very much.